much more to being a healthy firefighter than being in good physical shape. Your head needs to be in the right place, too. To be blunt, mental health is a topic most people shy away from, even though mental struggles are all around us. At least 1 in 5 American workers has some kind of diagnosable mental illness.
We got a suicidal male, 20-year-old.
And in the fire service, other mental health risk factors can pile up.
It's calls, it's call volume, it's a sense of being overwhelmed.
Oftentimes we see fairly traumatic events, and because we're expected to handle that event and then literally sometimes within seconds go to another event, it causes people to maybe suppress some of their emotions.
But I think there is a hero complex a little bit in our culture. They want to be the helpers. They don't want to ask for help. They don't want to feel like they need to ask for help.
But I think unfortunately what it really comes down to is embarrassment, vulnerability. They want to be well respected and well thought of by their peers on the fire ground. And that goes for the firehouse as well. So because of the nature of our job, decisiveness, the ability to compartmentalize your emotions in the face of trauma and not express them when you need to do good work is valued and well respected. And therefore, people feel that if they show their vulnerability or if they acknowledge that they could use the benefit of some type of support system or mental health professional services, they feel that they may lose that respect and they may become more vulnerable and not be connected with the family that they have.
Unfortunately, that reluctance to share personal vulnerability can come at a very high cost. Not acknowledging those feelings, not talking about them, is often masked by withdrawal or by self-medication with booze or pills. It sometimes leads to a serious personal crisis, even suicide. And suicide can have far-reaching ramifications.
One of the biggest stressors that a human can face is the loss of a family member or a friend. And in the fire service, we're clearly family members. So when we lose one of our fellow firefighters, the burden of responsibility weighs so heavily upon everybody's psyche. It's not just the family, it's everyone.
You can sense the heaviness in the firehouse. You can sense the heaviness in the environment. It kind of hovers over everybody.
The crew at Station 19 knows this all too well from the suicide of Captain Steve Magana. Juan Vigil had known him for years.
Yeah, he was obviously my friend, a mentor, and my captain, but we used to hunt and fish together, so we spent a lot of outside time together. You know, I broke down at the firehouse, not in front of everybody, but it was tough. It was tough.
And to this day, Juan isn't sure how much he should say about it.
I do feel like showing too much emotion may hinder the way people look at you professionally. Again, I was a little bit uneasy about coming to do this for that same thing, but it's important to hear these stories because we need to tell them. We need to get them off our chest. Keeping it in isn't a way to heal. It really isn't. It's detrimental to yourself, your family, and quite possibly the company that you're with.
That's exactly what this training is about, grasping the fact that working to solve your problems with peer support or professional services is a sign of strength.
About 5 or 6 years ago, I had a very abrupt divorce. I laid on the couch for 6 months while my kids kind of ran around like Lord of the Flies. And then I had to pick myself up because I had no other choice. And one of the greatest support systems I had were the guys at the firehouse. But I also realized that there was a value to taking care of myself in the best way I could. A lot of these times, these things we struggle with are on our own in silence. Some of us rely on friends and family. But going to a trained professional, that's what they do. They're a personal trainer for your mind, and it allows you to get on your feet more quickly, have a healthier outlook for yourself, make better decisions for yourself, for your kids, for the people that you love around you, and to perform better at work.
Myself personally, I have reached out to members that I see as mentors and People have provided guidance in my life on numerous occasions to express these are the feelings I have. Even sometimes the feeling of overwhelmingness. Hey, this is a problem. It just seems overwhelmingly hard to solve, or how do I reach this? And it's been very helpful to reach out and have those peers to provide a little bit of guidance, and not even necessarily the solution to the whole problem, but to sometimes just reframe what I'm dealing with, or even just break it up into smaller pieces and more manageable pieces.
So what's the point of all this? We're talking about a change in the fire service culture.
We go on fires, we go on incidents. We're trained at reading smoke, we're trained at reading the scene, giving that on-scene size up. We need that same kind of mentality on how we read each other, and how we treat each other, and how we take care of each other. So when somebody comes in who's having an off day, not quite themselves, it should be automatic that we should know what to do. Be proactive in funneling them to those resources which may be able to help them, whether it be the peer support team, the department psychologist, outside resources which are built into our city network.
One of the other fears I think people have when it comes to mental health is, what effect will this have on me as far as my job? Will this affect me and my ability to be promoted or even be employed? And what I would tell anybody is, it won't have any effect. Nobody would ever be punished for reaching out for that help, but if we don't, it's almost certain to have an effect, and typically it's a negative effect. When I turn and either self-medicate through substance abuse or even withdraw from everyone, the likelihood of me increasing my problems, never even addressing what the root cause is, and creating new problems is much more exaggerated.
I have been in the position to seek help. There was possibly a cumulative effect of the layer of the department, as well as the personal family matters I was going through. And it was a matter of just feeling overwhelmed. I didn't view it as seeking help. I viewed it as almost like a strategy of coming up with different coping mechanisms. And somebody to be kind of on the outside to kind of give me just different strategies maybe I didn't think of. You often wonder about crossing that line. Well, do I share these intimate stories with the people that work for me? But at the same time, they've all come forward and says, we appreciate you sharing your story. It shows a human element to you. And we think about how you handle these situations in your life, and we model, because you do have that influence outside of work as well.
Losing my wife was really the straw that broke the camel's back, where I thought I was resilient and I thought I was capable of being able to push forward. I realized through the education and the training and the knowledge that I had gathered through my life that I was not, and that I was a shell of the person that I had been. And I did seek counseling. Through the help of my peers and the peer support team that I direct, and through counselors, I've been able to get to a better spot. It takes us as a fire service to look at each other, to look out for each other, to be protective of one another, and to beg the question, are you doing okay? Are you having any problems? That was a tough call. Let's talk about it. Maybe we should have a diffusing or a debriefing, or we could call in the clinical psychologist or the peer support team, or let's just talk.
We're not always looking at just doing suicide prevention. We're looking at doing total mental health and total wellness so that we prevent these problems when they're very small, and we prevent them before they ever even get to the level of somebody contemplating suicide, and that they have those resources, and that we have multiple resources, and we have the appropriate resources for individuals. And so hopefully within a period of time, if you hear, that was really stressful, think I'm gonna go talk to my peer support member that helps here. I'm gonna go see the department psychologist. I'm gonna go do something after this call. Most people just look at it like, oh, okay, that's normal.